All right, you're ready to get started.
All righty. Welcome, everyone. Oh my gosh. Hi. Whoa, you guys are seeing double. This is me. I'm Eunice. This is my desk. This is where you're going to see all the painting happen. Everyone, welcome to tonight's Cork and Color Michael's workshop. Woo! I am so excited to be here today to teach you all how to watercolor. Yes, in the chat, tell us where you're coming from today. I'd love to see and give you all some shout outs. Oh my gosh, Kathleen from North Carolina. There's Emily. Hi, Emily. Yay. KDP from Canada. I love it. We got Philly, Florida, Texas. Oh my gosh, New York, Nevada. Melissa. Hi, Melissa. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I love seeing where everyone's from. Please drop where you're from. If you're just signing in right now, let us know where you're signing in from because we want to know. We want to know where you're coming from. So first, hi, my name is Eunice Sun, and I am a watercolor artist and author of my book, Watercolor Botanicals. I have it right here. It is all about floral and plant and botanical painting, and I teach you all sorts of techniques and everything you need to know about watercolors, which we're going to cover today. So I'm so excited to be here. I mentioned it earlier, this is a cork and color workshop, so I hope you have your drink. I know this doesn't look like much. It is a seltzer. It is oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's like tropical mango seltzer. So hopefully you have something really tasty too. I was gonna go with wine, but I wanted something like a little bubbly, a little refreshing. So hopefully you have something tasty. In addition to telling us where you're from, tell us what you're drinking. Even if it's like milk or orange juice or hot chocolate, tell me, tell me, tell me. So we are going to paint this lovely cactus piece tonight. It's going to be great. As we paint it, we're going to, work through different techniques. I'm going to talk about different things that are relative to watercolor and how you can sort of practice after this workshop. We are going to start with going over the tools that we have here today. Hopefully you got to pick them up from Michael's. It doesn't have to be the exact tools, so we'll make it work. If you have questions about tools or different things, do drop them in the Q&A and I'm happy to answer. We're going to go over some techniques. So some techniques that you'll use anytime you watercolor, and then specifically today we're going to mix some paints to get the colors you need for this lovely cactus. So a little bit about me. I actually have a background in business marketing and social media. And about 7 years ago, I was looking for a creative outlet. I was kind of like, I'm not accessing a part of me that I know is in there. Like there's something that I'm like meaning to do with my life. And I'd always been creative growing up. I took art classes. I loved dance. My mom was great and allowing me to do all of those things and bringing me to learn all those things. And so I decided to take a pointed pen calligraphy workshop, just like this one. And it was very hard. I don't know, anyone tell me if you've done calligraphy, drop it in the chat, let us know. It is tough. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to try to make this good. I'm going to try to add this to my skill sets. And what I did was I did a 100-day challenge where I wrote something and shared it on Instagram for 100 days. That is a little over 3 months, so it's a long time. And that honestly changed my life. What that allowed me to do was set aside time every single day just for myself to create something. And I was constantly looking for inspiration. So I was writing, right? So I was like, commercials or quotes in movies or even quotes from friends or family, right? Like I was constantly, subconsciously looking for inspiration. And so that really sort of changed the way I saw the world. And it definitely like pushed me to be more creative and to take that time for myself. So eventually I found watercolor lettering. I loved the colors and the blending of water and the relationship between water and paint. And then eventually I started to paint illustrations. And a couple of years later, I had the opportunity to write a book, and I'm so excited to continue teaching. I've been teaching workshops as well for about 4 years now, and I'm really excited to be here today with all of you. Ooh, I love this. Working on calligraphy currently. Yes, Jessie, you go, girl. I love it. Oh my gosh, California, Sauvignon Blanc. That sounds delicious. Pamage, I'm drinking water. That sounds good too. Stay hydrated. I love it, love it, love it. So this is meant to be a relaxing hour. I always start my workshops talking about my story because I want to share that you can learn anything. You can learn anything as long as you commit time to it and you love it, right? You can really learn anything. I'm sure there's a statistic. There's like some number of hours that you need to learn anything. And so today you can learn watercolor, even if you've never touched watercolors before, if you've never painted with a paintbrush, that is okay. You can do it. I believe in you. And this is really all meant to be relaxing, and you're taking time for yourself. That's the most important part. So we're gonna have some fun, and you have your favorite drink. So let's do this. So I'm gonna talk about what we have here. So we have first our paper. So let me move this over here just a little bit. We have our watercolor paper. You may have picked up the Canson cold press paper. This is actually my favorite type of paper. It's very affordable. You can get it at Michael's, and it's cold press. So there are several types of watercolor paper, including cold press, hot press, there's rough. So cold press is actually a little rougher than hot press. Hot press is very smooth, and we want it to be rough because we want to see the paint and the water absorb into the fibers of the paper. So cold press is typically the one that you want to paint with most often for watercolor. So you have your watercolor paper. And then you have your washi tape. I chose a fun little leaf one. You can use any washi tape. I'm sure a lot of people have lots of huge washi tape collections, so you can use any. But I chose this really cute print from Michael's. Here we go. Here we go. And then I actually got the, what is it? It's a 24-piece set. I have a box over here of the Artist Loft watercolor. Hopefully you got the same. If not, that's okay. We're only using a few colors today, so I pulled those out here. And then I have this mixing palette under here. Mine is a little tinted because I use it all the time. So we're gonna be squeezing our paints into this palette. And then I have a size 4 brush. So I love size 4. I paint with a size 4 on the daily. It's the perfect size for, honestly, to me, everything. The reason why it's round is because if you look at the barrel is round. And if you put pressure on the brush, the belly opens up so you can cover quite a bit of real estate. And then when you want to do nice thin details, you can use the very tip of the brush. So round brush is awesome. Probably the most versatile out there. I love it. So I wanted to make sure you had a round brush today. I have my Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleedproof White. Let me see if I can focus this a little better. There we go. This is the most opaque white paint out there, opaque water-based white paint. So I love it so much. I really do use this every single day. It is the best for details, and we are going to use it for details today. If you don't have this, that's okay. Your white in your kit should be totally fine, but I do love this. I also have my water jar. I don't know, let's see, can you see this? It's a cactus. Yay! So I have my water jar. This is to wash or brush between colors. It is not to drink. Please don't drink your watercolor water jar. It has happened to me before, or I dip my brush into my coffee or my actual drinking cup. It's a mess. So make sure to keep this away from your drinking cup so you don't put your brush in it. And then I did say to have a paper towels, and I'm today using, I use a microfiber cloth. It just lasts longer for me. So as long as you have paper towel, you should be good to go. And I always like to set my water jar right on top of my my towel, just because you're going to be going back and forth between the water and your towel to clean off your brush. And if you don't know already, you can find me on Instagram at Electric Eunice or on my website at electriceunice.com. I would love for you to follow me. I answer all questions and all sorts of things, and you get to see my crazy life on Instagram, and I just love to be your friend. So follow me there. You can find all of my info and everything that you need over there as well. Today, if you haven't already, share on your stories this lovely workshop you're about to partake in. And when you do, don't forget to A, tag Michael's stores, B, use the hashtag Make It With Michaels, and C, hashtag Michael's classes. And then, did I already say this? Tag me too. I'd love for you to tag me too at Electric Enos. I want to see your work. I want to see how much fun you're having. So, yay. Oh, I love it. Yes, you guys know my son, Ethan. Thank you. You guys are so sweet. Tracy is right. You can use painter's tape if you don't have washi tape. That is okay. I love it. I love everybody answering the questions. Windsor and Newton, beautiful. For I believe, yeah, you're using the watercolor paint. I love it. I love it. I love it. So let's get started. So we're gonna do a couple of things. First, we're gonna start with some watercolor techniques, but we do have to prep everything here. So I want everybody to, you can move your bleed-proof white to the side. I'm gonna move this to the side. You don't need your washi tape yet. All you need right now is, I actually pulled my Scarlet, and then I pulled the ultramarine blue paint from the kit. If you don't have the blue, that's okay. Use one of the greens that I listed in the supply list. And we're actually going to prep these two to do a couple techniques first. So if you haven't used your brush before, go ahead and take that little plastic cap off, and I want you to swirl it around in your jar. Something I forgot to say. So for your watercolor brushes, for your watercolor brush care, never leave your brush in your jar like so. It's going to bend the bristles and it won't bend back. You can't do therapy on them or anything. It just won't bend back. So anytime you're resting your brush, set it on top of your cup or set it on your desk. Never leave it in the jar in the water, or else it's just going to ruin it. So don't forget that. Okay. So what I'd love to do is also grab a piece of paper from your paper pad. What I would love to do is to have everybody prep your palette, because what we're going to talk about first is the wet on wet and the wet on dry watercolor technique. So the other thing that I like to say is, in a palette like this, since it's open, it doesn't have a lid, I always like to just squeeze out paints like right before I'm going to use them. So in this case, we're going to go we're going to go stage by stage. Right now, we're going to use these two colors for our techniques, and then we'll get into the greens for the cactus. So go ahead and take your Scarlet, and all I'm going to do is just squeeze a little dot out, literally like a little dot, not that much. Here we go. Really not that much in here. So I'm going to do the red, and then I'm going to do the blue. Here we go. So just a little dot, nothing crazy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate the paint. So there are a lot of different types of watercolors out there. There are dry watercolors, there are liquid watercolors. These are tube watercolors. And I personally like tube watercolors the best. They're just the easiest to activate. The dry ones are also great as well, because you still need to activate watercolors either way. And by activating, I mean mixing water and paint together. But the tube ones work great because you can squeeze them out wherever you need them. Sometimes I have to use just like a plate instead of a mixing palette. So it's really nice to have the tubes. So go ahead and swirl your brush in your water. There's usually like a little bit of glue on it to keep it straight and firm, so it doesn't bend in and on its way to you. So go ahead and swirl it. You might need to even press it on the bottom of your jar. And then I go like this just to make sure it's nice and soft. So make sure your bristles are nice and soft. And I'm going to activate our paint. So what I'm doing is I'm going to take my brush, put it in the water. Let me bring my water a little closer so everyone can see. And I'm just going to drop a couple drops into each. And then I'm going to swirl my brush around and really mix the paint and water together. We don't need too much right now. We're just using this for a quick technique. Now I'm going to switch over to blue. So I'm making sure my red is completely off my brush. I'm swirling it around, and then I'm wiping it on my paper towel to clean it. And then I'm going to do this with the blue. So here we go. Swirl it around. Maybe get a little bit more water. Yes. Take a sip of your drink while you do that. I'm just going to scroll through the comments really quick, see if everyone's okay. Okay. Awesome. So now what I'd like you to do, I'm going to move my water out of the way. Ooh. is I'd like for you to take your brush, load it up with the red per se, scarlet or red, and I want you to simply paint just like an inch bar across the top of your paper. So really simple, just an inch bar. You can even kind of fill it out a little bit. If you're getting a spottiness where you can see the paper, that means you need more water. When in doubt, no, more water is my motto. So you just did that. Let's go ahead and clean your brush off and let's do it with blue. Oh, I didn't get a lot of pigment there. So what you just did here with this red and this blue is called wet on dry. This paper was dry, your brush had paint on it and it was wet. So this is called wet on dry painting. On the flip side, let's do this again. Go ahead and grab your red and let's do another bar. Reload your brush if you need to, get it really wet. And this time, clean your brush and grab your blue. And this time I want you to overlap with the red. Do you see that? Do you see that red coming down into the blue? Now it's blending, right? This area that we overlapped is called wet on wet. So, right, the first layer was wet, the bottom half of this red, and then you painted over it with your wet blue paint. So, sounds very simple, right? You've got wet on dry, wet on wet. That's really it. How cool is that? So let's practice this a little bit. So go ahead and take your red paint. And what I want you to do is paint a circle. Don't take yourself too seriously here. Just a simple, quick circle. Ooh. Okay, okay. And then clean your brush off, get your blue, and let's do a blue one. And let's just let it touch right at the edge here. You should see some blending happening. You see that red coming into the blue circle. Honestly, this is why I fell in love with watercolors, is the blending and the wet on wet painting. I could do this all day long. And then let's get our red again. Let's do the same thing. Let's just simply touch a corner. Not even a corner, it's a circle, just kidding. I did really well in geometry in school, I promise. Then you're going to nice circle. So do this a little bit. I want you to practice sort of seeing the paint blend into the other circle as you're touching it. And what I want you to notice here is your paint color or your paint in general, it's only going where you put it. You are controlling the paint on your paper by putting your brush down where you want it to go, right? I think I get this question all the time, like how do you keep, when you're blending colors or when you're doing shapes and things like that, how do you keep the paint in that shape? It's because you have control of your brush, right? So wherever I decide to paint or put down my brush, that's where the water is going to stay and the paint's going to stay. A couple things to think about. So when I think about watercolor painting, I think about painting in 3 general layers. So watercolor is transparent, right? It's not, acrylic is opaque. Gouache watercolor is typically opaque. Watercolor in this sense is transparent. So you can kind of see the paper basically, right? So when you're thinking about painting with watercolors, you're always painting in layers. So you're going to start with the base layer. The base layer might be like, in our case, it's going to be just the base green color of the cactus. That's first layer. Second layer is always the shading, the highlighting, sort of like the depth details that you want to add to whatever you're painting, the subject that you're painting. And then the third layer is your detail layer. So that might be adding contour lines to show the way the petals are folding outward of a flower, or in our case, that's going to be the areoles, which are the little dots where the needles come out of the cactus. So you always want to think about it in general in 3 different types of layers. There's going to be many more layers than that, but you know, there's always a foundation layer. Then there's like a depth sort of shaping layer, and then there's a detail layer. So that's where wet on dry comes in. So at this point, these 2 bars are pretty much dry, right? So watch what happens when I'm just going to grab some blue paint. When I simply paint some lines across this red, this red block with the blue, right? They're clean, crisp lines. Let's see what happens when I do this with wet on wet. So I just painted that red block. And when I do this with my blue, these are not crisp lines, right? You guys see that they're bleeding into the red. So here's the key. When you want to, for example, paint your last layer of details, you want everything to be dry, right? You don't want it to be like everything's blending together. And, you know, if you're painting hair, for example, yeah, the base color of the hair should be a flat, like even wash. But then the more layers you're adding, the more details you're adding, you're going to want to see every single hair on that person's head, right? So that's when wet on dry is so important. And patience. Patience is very hard for me, let me say. I'm not the most patient person, but I've learned that you do need your layers to dry to get to that detail layer. Or if you are going for something like this, that's great too, right? Wet on wet comes in handy. I mentioned shading. So like shadowing or adding shadows to your subject. It's a great time to do that with wet on wet, right? Because you can go back in with a darker pigmented color and really shade and blend in that shadow in your piece. So these techniques are very simple. The concepts are very simple, but as you start to implement them into your watercolor painting, they make a lot more sense, and you can really add a lot of personality and depth into your pieces by using these techniques, which you will every single time you're going to use these techniques. So, all right. The next thing I want to show you. Oh, I always want to show this because this is my favorite. Yes, Stacey.
We have a question. How much water should they use when using watercolor? What's a good guide for that?
That is a good question. So this kind of goes into color value. So color value means the ratio between water and paint. So if you want a really transparent light color, so say you want like a really pretty light sky blue, you would want to use a lot of water and a little bit of blue paint, right? That's kind of one concept. Say you want something like really dark and pigmented, you want to use a lot of paint and a little bit of water. So I'll instruct you as we go through painting the cactus, like how much to use. But another tip that I have is if you're painting, like, let me see if I can do it right now. If you're painting and you see this is too dry, right? Like you're not getting a smooth stroke, like that is, you know, that's definitely a point where you need more water. So it does take a little bit of time to kind of get into the groove of it and like, you know, have it be intuitive of like how much water you need, which it'll happen quickly as long as you know, keep painting and keep practicing. That's a really good question. Keep asking those questions because those are really good. Yay. Okay. So, the other thing that I want to share, I love doing this. This is my favorite thing. I could do this all day long. So the other sort of practice piece you could do here, I like to do this even just to like relax, is paint shapes with just clean water. So you can kind of see, since my water is kind of tinted red, and then take your paint and simply line the outline of the shape, and you'll get to see, like, let me tilt my paper, you'll get to see the paint move, and I'm going to tap it a little bit. Like, how cool is that, right? Let's make sure not to get the glare in there. But this is a really great way to see the way water and paint reacts when you're painting wet on wet. Woo! Okay, what size brush, Doreen? I'm using size 4 today. What make brush do I have, Karen? This is the Artist Loft. Yes, thank you, Stacy. Fantastic. Woo, you guys ready? You guys ready? Say you're ready in the chat. Ooh, I almost. I have like 10 books right here holding this up. So luckily I didn't drop that. Yes, you're ready. Yay, Peggy and Nancy and Catherine and Tanya. Okay, I'm sure you didn't come here to hear me sing. Okay, don't forget, share on stories, share on Instagram how you're doing and if you're enjoying today's workshop. Okie dokie. Now we're going to talk about mixing our paint. So this is, again, what we're painting today. And right now I'm going to show you how to mix these two types of greens to get the color we want for this cactus. As I show you how to mix, we're going to learn a little bit about color mixing, hues, and color saturation. So when you think about color, so actually, while I'm talking, grab your Viridian green, your sap green, your white, and your black. So 4 colors. So when you think about color as it comes out of the tube or however you're using it, whether it's dry or liquid, you can think about this color in its perfect sort of purest hue. So this is essentially called a hue, the color. And so if you want to alter this hue, there are many ways that you can. We all learned about the color wheel in primary school. We learned about red, blue, and yellow being primary colors and how you can make all the colors on the color wheel with those 3 colors. It's not easy, but you can do it, right? It's possible. So that's also something I'd say that takes time to practice. So if you kind of feel like intimidated by that, that's okay. It takes time to kind of think like, or to get used to thinking like, okay, what does this color need? Do I need to add a little yellow? Do I need to add a little blue, right? So it takes a little bit of practice, but once you get it, you can make any color, which is great. So there's that type of mixing of color. What I want to talk about today is color saturation and specifically tinting and shading. So go ahead and grab your Viridian and your white. And what I want to do is, let's swatch them. Let's swatch both and I'll show you what we're gonna get. So open up your Viridian and I want you to do just a little dab, or just to squeeze a little bit out. Oops, mine needs a little bit of mixing. So just a little dot of it. Oh, mine came out to be a little bit more than a dot. It's okay if yours does too. We're going to use a lot of it for the cactus. And then what I want you to do is take your brush, clean it off if you have blue and or red on it. And what I want you to do is activate it, swirl it around, get some water in there, get some more water. Here we go. And what I want you to do is swatch this. So we're going to do that same thing, just that bar across. So I love color swatching, by the way. Another therapeutic thing that you can do when you just want to relax. So this is what Viridian green looks like in its purest form, right? It's this really bright green. Now what I want to do is called tinting. Anytime you add the color white, I know it sounds weird, but the paint color white to your paint, that is called tinting. So I'm actually going to do almost equal parts. So I'm going to squeeze like so into the same well. Here we go. And we're going to mix this together. So the idea here with tinting is the more white that you add, it'll eventually turn white too, right? The white will eventually take over and it'll be completely white. So that's what tinting is. If you look at the color scale of tinting, it'll be this bright green, for example, and then it'll get lighter and lighter and lighter. So let me swatch this. I actually kind of feel like this needs a little bit more. So I'm going to add a little bit more white. Ooh. Needs to be a little bit lighter, and you can see the difference here. And it's also even like a little bit creamier of a color. So here is the tinted Viridian green. So this has got a little bit of white in it. So I know this might seem, let me pull it up to the camera a little bit. They might look very similar, but you can see this subtle change. It's got kind of a more opaque look. This is a little bit more transparent. And it's almost like mintier, right? A little bit of a mintier green. So that's called tinting. So go ahead and clean off your brush. The opposite direction of this is shading. So I'm gonna take my sap green and let's do the same. I'm gonna do just a dot here and let's swatch it. Let's swatch our sap green. So clean off your brush and I'm gonna activate it so we can see what it looks like in its purest form. So some of the examples I have for tinting is, I mentioned a blue sky before. Say you have this really beautiful, bold, ultramarine blue and you want to paint a baby blue sky, add some white to that and keep adding until you get that really light blue that you're looking for. So, I mean, color mixing is almost like a science, right? You kind of play and mix and mix and mix until you get the color that you want. Okay, this is sap green. See, it's kind of transparent. Kind of a grassier green per se. And then I'm going to add, okay, everyone stop, get your black. Look at me. We're not going to put a lot here. We're going to literally We're gonna literally open it and we're gonna just make sure we're gonna squeeze it a tiny bit. We're gonna make sure it's at the rim of the tube. All I'm gonna do is just touch so that a little bit of black hits the well. Like, I'm serious, do not put a lot. Black is a very overwhelming color, as everyone can imagine, right? Like this is, if you put a lot of this, it's gonna turn all black. So very pigmented. So now I got a little bit of black here and now I'm gonna mix this. See, it got pretty dark. Now I need to add more green. I even put too much. I even warned everybody and I still put too much. So let me add some more back. Let me add some more sap green. See, this is all science in real time. Science. Here we go. So I'm gonna add this back and hope it lightens it up a little bit. See, guys, I should have followed my own. I put too much black. Okay, so just so you can see, let's swatch this. Ooh, it's dark, huh? It's very dark. So very different, right? Very different from that sap green. And so adding black is called shading. This is a really great technique to use when you're adding shadows or, you know, trying to depth-wise painting something either really close or really far that's shadowed, right? Like this is a really great way to get that complementary color to what you're shading, so AKA shading. And of course, the idea is the more black you add, it'll be completely black. So that is color saturation. Somebody had asked earlier about how much water you should use. So here's another technique you can use to lighten paint. I am gonna actually add more water to this. And if you notice, the more water you add, the more transparent it'll become, right? Even if it's on the paper already and I'm adding more water, it'll become more and more transparent. So that's another technique that you can use to lighten colors or to kind of like, right, like completely wash it out a little bit. You can add more water. Okay, I'm gonna pause real quick. I'm gonna take a drink. Cheers, cheers everybody, cheers. Janice, if I only have one green, please tell me how to make a second green. Just like that. Add white to your one green and then add black to your one green and then you have two different greens. Then you're good to go. You actually, in a sense, have four, right? Because you could do, well, no. You'll have two. You'll have three technically, right? Your original green, your lighter green, and your darker green. Yes. Great. Melissa, right, that was lamp black. Good stuff, good stuff. Okay. So you just mixed your two colors for your cactus, for your saguaro cactus. Okay, so before we, also you notice that there's a background wash here. It's I've deemed it Palm Springs pink. It, you know, I don't know if that's like, you know, an official color, but it is to me. I love cactus on pink. I love plants on pink. I know it's a thing, hashtag plants on pink. We'll mix this later because we're not painting the background right now. So now we have our two colors. If you notice here, we are basically alternating between the two colors back and forth. So what I want to do is I want us to practice, kind of do like a line exercise and practice the cactus on our scratch paper first before we do the final piece. So clean your brush. And I'm going to actually use my paper this way. Let's see. Do I want to do this way? Yes. I'm going to do it this way. So I'm actually going to paint the lines like this. You can do what works best for you. And if you're right-handed or left-handed, you might want to switch. It's up to you. But what I want to do here is I want to practice painting some lines so that you will feel confident once we get to the final piece. I am totally that person in like a class or workshop where I'm like, please tell me what I'm doing so I can see the bigger picture and have context before you make me do it. So I am doing that for you today. So go ahead and grab your Viridian green. And first I do just want you to simply paint a line. So I'm using the tip of my brush. I'm putting a little bit of pressure on it. Let me bring us down a little bit so you can see better. And I'm simply pulling it just from left to right. So, and if you see this, you need more water, right? When it starts spotting. So just practice that a little bit. I'm putting a little bit of pressure. The belly of the brush is opening up. I definitely need more water. And yes, the saguaro cactus are supposed to be straight, but we're not going to take ourselves too seriously here. We're going to have fun. It doesn't need to be perfect. Lines like this are totally fine. And the reason why I actually turn my paper is I like to use the edges of the paper as like my straight guide. So, right. And also if you're left-handed, you might want to be going this way. So do what works for you, but this is what works for me. And always having like an edge to follow. Okay, now that you've done that a couple times, let's do our first stroke for our cactus. So pretend our cactus are standing up like this way. And I'm still going to paint like this though. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint a line. And then I'm actually at the top, I'm going to curve it and end it like so. It kind of looks like a pickle spear. I always try to think of food. I'm like, everyone knows food. Everyone knows what food looks like. So it's kind of like a pickle spear. Let me know if it looks like anything else to you. And then I'm going to sort of finish off this bottom part so it's flat as if it's coming out of the ground, right? So if you want to go over a little bit, you can. So I went ahead and curved it to here. Looks like a pickle spear. I'm going to pickle spear. I'm having trouble saying that. I'm going to clean off my brush and I'm going to get the other green. And I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to have it mirror this first pickle spear. So, and it's okay if the colors or if your brush touches your previous layer. I'm going to curve it this way and just need a little more paint and match it up there. Take your time. So this should look like a whole pickle. Okay. So when you think of a saguaro cactus, it's got sections, right? So it's almost like a star at the top. When you look from the top down, it's got these sections. So this area where the seam is essentially where these two colors meet. And this is a little bit of an abstract cactus, right? So I just want to make sure everyone, you know, is aware of that. It's not meant to be super realistic, but that's why we're using two different colors so you can differentiate the different pieces of the cactus. So I'm actually we're looking at it straight on like this, right? So we're gonna build the cactus from front to back from our point of view. So the additional layers that we're gonna add right now are gonna get smaller and smaller, thinner and thinner. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that same sap green. And on the other side of this cactus, just gonna do a little bit of a thinner line and then have it hug up to that pickle spear. And I'm going to do the same on this side. And notice I'm not taking myself too seriously, right? We're not getting too crazy with super straight lines or super clean details here. And then I feel like this needs another side. So I just grabbed the sap green. And then I'm going to finish it off like so. And then of course you can come down here and kind of clean this up a little bit. They kind of start to blend a little bit, which is fine. But this is essentially what your cactus is going to look like, right? And kind of level it out a little bit. So, you guys ready? We don't have a lot of time. We got to jump in. Let's get a new piece of paper. So put this one away. Get your piece of paper and get your washi tape. Okay. So, where's my washi tape? Okay. Here's my technique. Everyone always asks me, what kind of paint do you, or what kind of tape do you use? How do you do it so that when you peel the tape off, it doesn't take the paper with it? Here's what you do. When you put the tape on the paper, you guys see this? Yeah, like so. And you line it up to the edge of the paper, which I'm trying to do. Only press on the inner edge of the paper. That is the only place it needs to be adhered to the paper because you don't want your paint to seep through, right? This is the inner edge where the paint's going to touch. So press down here, make sure that that's good. Don't press the whole thing. And even when you're pressing on here, you don't need to press that hard, you know? You may, I mean, paper and adhesive don't always mix, so you just kind of have to be careful there. I do like using washi tape because it does tend to be even less sticky than painter's tape. So that is why I did suggest washi tape for today, but it is totally up to you how you want to do it in the future. I'm only doing the inner edge. And all I'm doing right now is simply, oops, taping up the edges of my paper. There we go. Little scrap piece right there. So make sure, oh my gosh, okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. So make sure you are doing the same. This also gives you a quick break if you need to get another sip of your drink or take a bite of your snack. Okay, just pressing on the inside. All right. If you use a canvas, do you use tape? So canvas is typically for acrylic. There are watercolor pads, like paper that's stuck together like a pad, and you can kind of peel it off, and that allows the paper to stay flat. That's another question I get often too. If you're worried about the paper warping, let's just say this, water and paper, it's always going to warp the paper at like even just a little bit, right? So there's a couple things you can do. This tape helps. You could tape it to the table, you could tape it to a painting board, or you can use a watercolor pad. In the end, I usually flatten my pieces between books anyway, so if that's helpful. Okay, so what I'd like for everyone to do is let's start our cactus. So we're going to start from bottom up, and we're going to work from left to right. And if you see, I already have turned my paper. I'm going to do that same motion all the way across, and we're going to build our cactus from center to out. So, and again, we're just alternating colors, so it doesn't need to be super serious. Go with the flow. All of ours are going to look great, and we're going to have some fun. So I'm grabbing the Viridian green, and I'm just going to start from down here. And remember that pickle spear shape. So hard for me to say, pickle spear. So I'm going to start there. I'm now going to grab the second color, and I'm going to mirror the pickle spear. And bring the shape up this way. There we go. Here we go. All right. Heather, I'm with you. Heather and Alex, you're good. You're good. I know you guys are good. Okay, I'm going to do the other side of the cactus, a little thinner of a line, right? We're just seeing the side of it. Grab a little bit more paint. It was starting to spot there, and I'm just going to slightly hug it around this one. It does start at the very bottom. My favorite about taping with washi tape is when you paint over the tape or off the border, you get a really cool clean line. So I do try my best to use every opportunity to paint off of the side of the paper. Here we go. And I do feel like this needs another side here. And here we go. I need to go over it a little bit if it is a little spotty. All right, let's keep going. We gotta go. We're gonna make some more. So I'm gonna make this one a little taller. Let's go up a little bit more. Let's do our spear. Yay. Let's mirror the other side. And if you want to recreate this, I'm actually going to turn the paper and look at it this way real quick. If you want to recreate this with different colors of green, you can. I bled a little bit there, which is totally fine. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with that look. I'm going to do a couple straight lines this way, just so you can see what this looks like. Kind of gives me a better eye of what the cactus shape is. And then I will probably turn it right back. I'm actually going to thicken this one too. Here's a tip. If you ever want to lift some color, you just go in with a dry brush and sort of pick up the paint. Let the paintbrush absorb the paint. All right. Let me grab my Viridian green. You might even see some like color blending happening with your cactus with the different greens, and that's totally fine as well. I kind of want to do another one right here. So let me turn the paper and just do a little line like so. Here we go. All right. So hopefully everyone is good and on track. Yes. The cactus are looking a little like watermelon. I did mix that green a little too dark, but it is all good. We're gonna make it work. So I'm going a little higher. Is everyone having fun? How's it going? I know we're all busy painting, but let me know how you're doing in the chat. Oops, there's too much paint there. So if you notice, I am turning my paper back and forth. Do not ever feel like you cannot do that. I always feel like you want to do what works best for you when you're painting, right? You want to make yourself comfortable. So if that means turning your paper, by all means, do that. Yay, Jesse's doing good. Rebecca's doing good. I love it. All right. So we talked a lot about technique today. If you've never done watercolor before, you are really set up with some awesome tools. Now you can really think about what you want to paint next. If you're a plant lady or a plant person like myself, you might want to do like a little portrait of one of your cute little plants, right? Pay homage to your plants. Hang a little portrait behind them. How cute would that be? Okay. I know these cactus are a little thicker than we expected, which is fine. Okay, let me do this. I do like to have some depth. So let's make a really short one here. I'm gonna make it really, actually no, I'm gonna put it right here. I made it a little bit closer to the cactus next to it because I want there to be, I don't want them just to be evenly spaced across the board. That's not natural looking. So, and I hesitated there because if I put it there, then you wouldn't be able to see it since we're building from inside out, right? So this one's a little closer. Here we go. Let me get a little bit of this. Okay. And I'm gonna erase this. So all you do is you clean off your brush. You can drop a little water there, and I'm actually gonna take, I have a tissue here. I would usually use paper towel, but I'm gonna just dab it. And kind of like when you spill something on your carpet, you wanna dab up or try to pull up the color or the paint, and then it's gone. And we're gonna do a background wash anyways, so you're not gonna really see it, which is great. Okay, let's do another here. I'm gonna have this one also be really tall. Ooh. Just need to get a little more water. And then we can do some wet on wet here, right? It's fun. And then let's go back to the Viridian green. Oops. If you also don't have any more paint, you can mix some more. We won't get too far ahead of you. We're simply just painting these cactus. So you can squeeze some more paints out. Oh no. Is it Shoria? I'm sorry. You can always paint again. You can paint again and you can paint anything you want. Yay. I didn't realize that you use so much water on the brush. Yes. Doreen, when in doubt, use more water for sure. I was the kid in grade school that never let anybody press hard on her markers. You know what I'm talking about? I would like use my markers so lightly because I thought I was saving them. And now I am learning as an adult that that's not how you do it. Okay. You gotta just go all in, use those markers. Have fun. All right. So I live in California and we love Palm Springs. We try to go as much as we can. It's about 2 hours away from us. And it is like my ultimate relaxation spot. It's like everything about it is beautiful. Architecture is beautiful. The people are amazing and so nice. I had my bachelorette party there. So many good memories in Palm Springs. And I do believe that I love Cactus so much because of Palm Springs. Palm Springs is amazing. Okay, I mentioned earlier that you want to use any opportunity to go off the page so that you can get that crisp, clean line from the washi tape. So I'm just going to paint sort of a little peak of a cactus on the side here. And nothing crazy. I'm just going to do this and then I'll do another layer of the sap green. And then that's it. Here we go. Yeah. What do y'all think? I bet yours is beautiful. Mine's looking a little watermelon-ish, but that's okay. We're gonna make it work. We're gonna make it awesome. Okay, I talked about base layer or foundation layer of watercolor. This is your foundation layer, right? Doesn't look like anything now. In fact, mine look like long watermelons. Interesting. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna add some sort of like contour details or shading details. So I'm actually gonna take my my very dark sap green that I didn't intend to be this dark, and I'm going to actually paint some lines to kind of, and so I'm in this case, I'm going to go down the center of this Viridian green just to show sort of the edge of the cactus. So the edge where the needles are coming out of, and you can sort of alternate this. So next, I'm not necessarily going to go in the center of that Viridian green. I'm just going to make these lines a little bit more crisp. The darker areas are more crisp, and I'm going to just alternate that. Here we go. Again, don't take yourself too seriously, just really easy. I'm using the very tip of my brush just to, I have my paper turned, right? So I can just simply do these lines real quick. I'm not being very serious about where I'm placing these lines. So this adds a little bit of depth, right? It's not just a flat, add another one right here, not just a flat cactus. This one might still be a little bit wet. Yep. Awesome. So we're gonna let these babies dry. We're not gonna touch them right now. We're gonna do the watercolor wash, the watercolor background wash. Stacy, I think I might be going over just a couple minutes. Sorry, everybody. Let me know if that's okay.
You're all
Did
good.
you rubber
Take
stamp?
as long as you need.
Thank you. Did you rubber stamp the paper borders first? No, I did not. I did not. Okay, cool. Grab your Scarlet and your white, and it's actually going to be, I'd say 2 parts white, 1 part Scarlet, almost like the black, like barely touch the Scarlet to your white. we are trying to create a very light pink. I already did too much. This is my problem. We're going to try to make a very light, beautiful pink. So I'm actually going to take some of this out here, set it over here, clean off my brush, and we can add a little bit more as we go. So I'm going to mix this, and you can already tell it's pink, y'all. It's pink. This is the pink I wanted, actually. This is great. I did mention to grab your Vermillion, and so same idea, just a slight touch of this color. I like adding this. This is like a red orange because it gives a little bit of a peachy tone to it. So I did just a touch there, and there's my peachy. All right, this is a watercolor wash, so we need a lot of water. If you can see, this is, here we go. This is like super goopy. This is great for like a really opaque look. And let me swatch it for you. So, right, it can look like this. Right, that's a really pretty, that's like wall color. We love it. That's a really pretty pink, but we want it to be a watercolor wash. So let's add a bunch of water to it. So I'm going back and forth to add as much water as I can. And you also need a lot of water because this well right here needs to cover your entire paper, right? We're doing a background wash. The key with background wash is you have to work really quickly because you want as even of a background as you can get. And if you even wait just a second, you might have a hard line where you had stopped your last stroke instead of this like really even look. So work quickly here with me. Hopefully you have your pink mixed up. Everyone's good? I wish you could do emojis in Zoom. Everyone have a thumbs up? Everyone good with their pink? Okay, so as you can tell, my well is almost full. Awesome. Got a lot of paint in here. And so I turned my paper because we are going to paint around these cactus, right? Same idea. We want to use the cactus as a guide. We don't want to paint over them, although if they touch, it's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm starting from the bottom left corner, and I am simply just going to use my brush and pull the paint upwards. So I'm actually getting more water right now. I'm not actually dipping my brush into more paint. I'm dropping paint down, and then I'm getting water on my brush, and then I'm pulling it upwards. This is what I call pulling paint. So, right, I'm dropping it up here. I'm kind of using the water that's there. I just grabbed some more water from my jar, and I am going as quickly as I can to cover as much of the paper as I can. So we also can't forget the hard part are these like little areas, right, that we want to get into. So most of them are just a brush width of paint. And like I said, it's okay to sort of overlap a little bit, but we don't want it to be fully overlapped. Now this line right here, if I left it and just walked away, it would dry and it would be a hard line. So let's blend it out. So get some paint, get some water, blend it out so that it doesn't create a harsh line. Let's go down this alley. Oh. I hope this is fun for everyone. Oh my gosh. I hope you're just as relaxed as I am. I was saying about Palm Springs. So anyways, I love seeing all the cactus there. They have beautiful gardens. I mean, honestly, just people's lawns look great. I'm like, is this a garden or can I pay to get in? Or do I just enjoy this by standing on the sidewalk? Because this is great. So for those of you who have been to Palm Springs, you know the magic. The magic. All right. Let's keep going. Okay, it's perfect. You can still see. I'm going as fast as I can. This is probably the fastest that I've worked in today's session, right? I want it to be even as I can get it. And I want it to be this perfect pink. Of course, you can always choose whatever color background you want. I love a pink, I love a peach, I love a yellow. There's so many options, so many options. Maybe you're painting something for your own home, maybe your kitchen, and you want it to match. Think about the colors that you have in there and you get to create your own. This is the coolest part. You get to create your own art. And you can either gift it to people or you can keep it yourself and frame it. And ta-da! Background wash done. Whew. Take a sip of my drink. How's everyone doing? Let's take a quick breath here. We're right at the hour and we just have a couple of details to go. Yay. I know no one's typing because they're quickly doing their background wash. So much work, I know. Okay, so what we need to do now, clean off your brush. You just did a lot of painting. Woohoo, high five, marathon painting right there, sprint painting, really. I want you to get your Bleedproof white, and if not Bleedproof white, use your tube white and squeeze it out here. So Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleedproof white is super opaque. It's also, when it's not diluted, it's also a pretty thick white paint. So I love that about the paint in general. You can, you can dilute it, you can make it really thin, or you can really make it opaque and like that really gooey, thick consistency. My goal right now is I'm trying to get it on the tip of my brush because we're going to make polka dots. So we're going to make dots all down the cactus. So leave that there. Make sure everyone can see. So we're going to go from top down. If you've ever seen a cactus, they're so gorgeous. So the aerials are the white dots we're going to paint right now. Those are the air pods or air holes that the needles or the spines come out of. And if you notice on a cactus, they are very uniform. They are perfectly spaced and beautiful. So in this case, we're not going to be too perfect, but we're going to do a bunch of little dots all the way down. And again, don't take yourself too seriously here. I am just placing them along the sort of each section of the cactus. So just easy polka dots. This is about the consistency that you want to, where you can just kind of dab it and paint will come off. So, and it's, you can see this is like a super opaque white. Okay, I'm gonna go down here. And
Paula has a question. Are you still using the number 4 brush for the white dots on the cactus?
I am. That's a really great question. So that's why I love a round brush and I love the size 4 because it's so versatile. The very tip of this brush, you can get great details like this one, and you can do a watercolor wash. You can cover all that real estate like you guys just did. That's a great question. I also really like to dot the outer edge of the cactus for each one. So make sure to do that. Oh, my area is still a little wet there, so it's kind of bleeding a little bit. But really easy, easy peasy. This part's fairly therapeutic, unless you're in a rush. So, okay, I'm gonna do these outer edge dots. Typically, after this layer, I would paint needles, and I would use the very tip of my brush and use probably this dark green that I mixed to paint like a little V, like just basically two little needles. But I really like the look of this without it. I didn't feel like it needed like really obvious needles, but when I paint like closer up snapshots of cactus, I do really like to do the needles because that is the personality of a cactus. Am I right? Am I right? Dots make the difference. Yes, Sansan. Yes, I'm telling you people, this is the detail layer. And prior to this, you're like, the heck? You're like, these pickles are not, right? I like cannot tell you all of you how often I will sit down to paint an illustration and I will almost give up at the very first layer because I'm like, am I even doing this right? Like I trick myself still to this day. Like this is not going well. And then I keep at it and I'm like, oh, right. Mm-hmm. It just needed the detail layer. It needed the shading and the detail layer for me to understand what it is and for other people to understand what it is. It's so funny, huh? True story. Heather Spencer, true story, girl. Okay. So I want everyone to think about what they're going to paint next, and please show me. Show me first what you painted today. Don't forget to tag me and Michael's Soars and use the hashtag Make It With Michael's and Michael's Classes. I want to see it. I want to see your good, beautiful paintings. And then think about what you want to paint next. I hope this has inspired you, given you a nice, relaxing hour just for yourself. That's the main thing, is art can be a form of self-care. Yes, let me tell you, it can be stressful sometimes. I was making t-shirts for our boys. We went to Disneyland the other day and I was using my Cricut and I was very stressed. But in the end, I was not, because I saw the results. Also true story. That's maybe not as motivating, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Okay. Is it coming together? Everybody? Tell me if it's coming together. Do you see your saguaro cactus? Yes, looking good. I love it. I love it. Rebecca, Pecky, is it Shabani? Fantastic. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering your name. All right. I need a little more white here. Lori. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Lauren. Woohoo. Looking good. Looking good. I love it. Okay. Where am I? Okay. And we're almost done, y'all. I'm taking a little over time. Thank you for sticking with me. If you had to go or you have to go, don't forget about us. Show us what you made. Take your time to finish this later. And then you can frame it and give it to somebody. Father's Day is coming. Just saying. Just saying, okay. Okay, I'm almost there. One more. Okay. Ooh, orange warm dusk sun. I love that. Yes, you can totally do that. I please do it and show me, because I will be very impressed. That sounds beautiful. A beautiful sun in the background. Oh my goodness. Okay, let me lift this so you can see a little bit of a fuller picture. This is my favorite part of the painting, is the tape pull. You notice how I hesitated there, the tape pull. You don't need to wait for it to dry. I do recommend that you wait for the most part until it's more dry. The main thing is, if you did a wash or you used a lot of water, if it's puddling in the areas where your washi tape is, I would either dab it with a paper towel to lift the paint or just wait for it to dry completely, because if you pull the tape and that little puddle rolls over, then you're not going to have that crisp line anymore. So everybody, you ready? The tape pull is my favorite. My favorite. Look at that. Oh, wait, no, I need to do this. Hello, I need to bring it close. Here we go. That tape pull. Oh, a little bit of paper, a little tiny bit of paper. That tape pull. Yes. The crisp lines. Beautiful. Tell me you're seeing the same things. This is great or not. I'll do this. I'll paint any day just to pull the tape. I will do this all the time just to pull the tape. I got some questions. I will answer them. Let me just finish the tape pull because this is so fantastic. Here we go. One last tape pull. One last tape pull for the night. Wait. Okay. Here we go. Oh, I got a little bit of paper. Oh, I got a little paper. Okay. We did it. Okay. Here's our masterpiece. Hopefully You love your masterpiece. I know I will love your masterpiece, so please show us. Let me answer some of these questions here. Why didn't I do the pink first? You can absolutely do the pink first. I typically like to, if you're gonna do a watercolor wash that's light enough, then you can do the pink first or the background first and then paint the cactus or whatever you're painting. I like to keep the colors as true as possible. So I want to paint on the white blank paper. Masking tape, I don't think masking tape does well on paper. I just don't recommend it. I'd say painter's tape or washi tape. Difference between the two different whites. This is an opaque water-based white paint, Dr. P.H. Martin's. It's everybody I know loves it. This is just my favorite opaque. So opaque means not transparent. You can't see through it. It's white, right? You can see here, you can see it on top of color. Sometimes with white watercolors, it's just not as bright and opaque. That's the main difference. Yes, Heather Spencer knows what's up. All right. Okay, couple things before we go tonight. Again, do not forget to share with us wherever you are, Instagram, Facebook, whatever platform, TikTok, you do a little dance. Tag at Michael's Stores, tag Electric Eunice, use hashtag Michael's Classes, and make it with Michael's. And I cannot wait to see what you make. Seriously, I cannot wait. You're all amazing. Thank you so much. I had such a great time. Cheers to all of you. You did fantastic. Cheers. And I'll see y'all next time. Yay! Thank you. Send me your questions. Bye.